Hello everyone, welcome back to Kirkley's Guitar School. So today we're going to have a look at Lyin Eyes by the Eagles, as voted for by you guys in the Facebook group. So, before I get into today's class, there's a full chord sheet, tab, PDF that you can download for free from one of two places. First link in the description takes to our private Facebook group. All the tabs I've ever done can be downloaded there completely for free. I joined the groups, really cool community of guitarists, just getting on with it, doing plenty of practice. If you're into that, it's well worth your time. If Facebook's not your thing, you can head to the second link in the description and join our email list, and you'll get a weekly email with all of that week's tabs for the lessons that I've taught attached to that, completely for free, don't want anything from you. Please be patient with me. I am working on an archive within the next couple of weeks of all my lessons, which will be a website that you can download everything from. Please be patient, it's coming. So, I've taught this lesson before. Let me bang this on the screen. I've taught this lesson before. I've just taught the intro, and I got a good response from it, but a lot of you were asking for the rest of the song. So rather than teaching the rest of the song in a second video, I've sort of watered down the intro to make it more appropriate for beginners to sort of advanced beginners. But I've also included in the PDF pack, I've also included a more complex version of the intro, which is exactly what they're doing on the record. So if you feel like this that I'm about to show you is a little bit too easy, you've got a harder version. Now, the approach that I've taken on this is I'm the only guitar player on the gig. Oftentimes when I go out as a working guitar player, there's not two guitarists on the gig. So I've got to try and do all of the cool bits, but then do enough chords to sort of keep everybody propped up. So this is my approach. If I was a single guitarist on this gig, this is how I'd play it. There's a million and one different ways to play it. Somebody's going to get cross with me the way that I'm showing you how to do it because there's another way. But the Eagles have so many guitars stacked on top of each other. There's so many different variations that you can do for this song. Here are the chords for today's class. So we've got a G chord, a C, an A minor, a D, an E minor, an A, and a B minor. Now these chords all come on a handy sheet that's provided in the PDF pack, and I'd highly recommend that you go and get those. So let's start with the intro then. Now I'm going to start on electric and then I'm going to go over to acoustic. I'm not suggesting that you need to switch guitars mid-song, but I just felt like playing my Strat today, so that's why I've got it out of the cupboard. So here's the whole thing that we're going for first. So as I said previously, there's a slightly more difficult version of this for a lesson that I've taught before. If you want absolutely kind of on the money what the Eagles are doing, head over to that lesson. I'll put a card up and I'll put a link in the description for you to go and check that out if that's your thing. And I want to make this as I want as many people to be able to play this song as possible, and it's aimed at people who can play a couple of chords and want to start getting a little bit of lead into their playing and playing along to records. So we're going to start with the 3rd fret of the high E string and play this G note. And that's going to last for 4 beats. It's going to last for the whole bar. So 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm doing that with my middle finger because then I'm going to play the 2nd fret on the same string, and I'm going to play that for 2 beats. Moving on, we're here now. I'm going to go 2, 3, 2, all on the same string. And then I'm going to play the open high E string. So pause the video, get that under your fingers for me. It's the first 3 bars of the entire piece. Have a go at that for me. Now notice how there's some chords above. So you've got a G chord here and a C chord over here. That's just telling you if you're jamming with a buddy and you don't want to play the same bit, or if you find this a little bit too, you find the chords okay but the lead guitar's a little bit too taxing for you, you can just strum those chords over that and it'll sound great. Now I'm coming back to this slide, but my methodology and how I kind of like to do these lessons is I always sort of think of bolting a bit on. So this is the next part, this is bar 4, this is the last bar of the first line of the PDF. And let's get this lick and then we'll bolt it onto the pre-existing. So I've got open B string, 2nd fret on the G, 2nd fret on the G. Those are quavers, those are played quite quickly. and then I'm going to play the open G and let it sit for a second. And then I'm almost going to play that rhythm in reverse. You see how we've got two quavers, two fast notes, one long note, two fast notes. So you've got da 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 da. You see how it almost comes back on itself? Let me go back to the beginning. You've got open B, second fret of the G, open G. Try and keep alternate picking throughout all this as well, by the way. I'm then going to press the second fret again. I'm then going to play the open B string. And then I'm going to do a string skip for this last note over here. Can you see how it's on the D string, not the G? So that's an E note. Now can you see there's a funny little line attached to this second fret at the end? That's called a tie. I call them washing lines, but it's the technical term for it's a tie. What that means is you're going to let that note spill over into the next bar, but you don't have to play it again. In plain English, you've got to play that note and just hold it for a little bit longer than you think you need to. So if we bolt those two slides together, you've got pause the video and get that under your fingers. Try and glue those together. There's nothing new, it's just that I've just stitched those two slides together. If you're feeling okay, we're going to go to the second line of the intro. Now this looks really complicated, but it's not. You just got to learn what all these funny little lines mean. So, you know how I said the last note of the previous slide was tied? So this note, you're still hanging on to this from the previous bar, so you don't need to play that note again. Okay, so let's just ignore that. We're going to play the open G, and then we're going to hammer on between fret 2 and fret 4 of the same string twice. So open G, I'm then going to play the second fret and hammer onto 4, and I'm using index and ring finger, and then do the hammer again. These are called semiquavers, these first notes, these twos. That means that they're super duper quick. As soon as you've plucked that note, you want to be doing a hammer on to that extra note there. It's an A to a B, is that. Then for the remainder of this slide, you're going to play the second fret and the open string. You're then going to play the fourth fret of the D string really quickly because that's a quaver, and then resolve to the open string. So you're going to go F sharp to G. Let me play from here. Play all of that. Pause the video and get that under your fingers. If you're feeling keen, let's have a look at the next part of that. Now this is the last bit, and again there's a lot going on, but actually once you break it down, it's just muscle memory and rinse and repeat, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play the third fret of the B string, which is a D note. I'm going to play that note with the index finger, and I'm going to hammer on to fret 5. Once I've done that, I'm going to remove that 5th fret and pluck that 3rd fret again. Can you hear the tune in that? Yeah, that's that whole bar. It's the same figure, you just kick it down 2 frets. A bit of elbow transposition never hurt anybody, did it? So hammer on from 3 to 5. And then don't pull off. Sometimes I'm guilty of pulling off. Don't pull off. Just pick the note. Move it down 2 frets. Hammer on from fret 1 of the B string to fret 3 of the B string. And then you're going to play that 1st fret, that C note again. Da 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 da. Now there are some dyads that they use on the record. I think it's something along those lines. That's catered for in my other lesson. If you're up to that challenge, please go and do that and try and stitch it to the chords that I'm going to teach you in a couple of minutes, okay? Final bar, I'm going to play the open B string. I'm then going to hammer onto the 1st fret and then pull off again. So what I'm doing there, can you see? I pick the note, I then hammer my finger on, and then I pull it off again. And can you hear my finger leaving the string? There's going to be a great lesson on hammer-ons and pull-offs on the website that you can get for free. That's coming up in the next couple of weeks. And then as we get here, you're going to go to the 3rd fret of the G string. I'm going to use my ring finger and I'm going to pick that note, pull off to the 2nd fret that I'm using my middle finger, and then I'm going to pull off to the open string. That's where this sort of country thing for the Eagles really comes in. So let me stitch those 2 previous slides together and then we'll look at the whole intro. Such a cool sound. The whole thing sounds like this. Pause the video, get that under your fingers. The more time that you spend with this riff's going to come back at least 3 times in the song in various iterations. So the more time you spend here, the more I fancy your chances better at getting to the end of the song, because it's just stitched together with down, down, up chords. I'm going to go get my acoustic guitar. You practice this for a second, I'll be right back. So we're going to have a look at the verse and the chorus parts and the chords and the strumming part for the song now. Now notice that I've changed to acoustic guitar. This is just because I feel like it sounds better in the room and just because I want to play this guitar. You don't have to do a change, you don't have to do a swap. Just play whatever you've got and the song will sound fantastic on whether it be electric or acoustic. I think everybody from every discipline can get something out of this. So here's just a little reminder of the chords that we're going to be using for this section. If you grab the PDF, the last page of the PDF, I've put that slide and I've printed that out for you so that you can have that on hand, because there are a couple of fruity little chord changes in this, and it's a great way. I like using this song as a way of sort of introducing B minor to students, because B minor is not that scary. We just don't get to play it very often, and actually if you taught it the right way, it's not as scary as people make out. So the strumming pattern for this song is good. Down, down, up, down. I use this strumming pattern in my lessons all the time. It's really, really versatile, and there's probably 3 or 4 different acoustic guitars on the record playing differing rhythms to this, but I feel like this is a really good middle ground. So with the G chord, we're going to go down, down, up, down. Try it with the G chord. 2 downs, 2 ups, finish with a downstroke. Down, down, up, down. Pause the video and get that under your fingers. I have done a video on this. If you need some help with this strumming pattern, I'll put a card up and I'll put a link in the description where you can learn this pattern. It's only a little 4-minute video, but if you're struggling with it, it might be worth your time. Right, so the verse. I've chosen the remastered version of Lyin Eyes, and I'll tell you why, because the song is that bleeding long. I think the original, I can't remember off the top of my head, I'm paraphrasing, but the original is really, really long. The remastered version's still easily over 5 minutes long, but it's a little bit shorter. And basically, they cut down the verse after the chorus. So the next verse that we'll look at after this one, they cut that down. If you're playing along to the original recording, you want to do an extra repeat of that, which we'll talk about when we get there. But initially, we're going to go down, down, up, down. We're going to play G, C, A minor, D, etc. So let's break that down into chunks. So I'm going to play 2 bars of G, and this is the lyric here is City Girls Just Seem to find out early. Is that the lyric? It escapes me now that the camera's on. But you've got G to C, A minor, and then the D chords, the lyrics smile. I'm trying to think of the lyrics and now I've been put on the spot, I'm struggling. And then, so that's the first 8 bars of the verse, 2 bars of G, 2 bars of C, 2 bars of A minor, 2 bars of D. There's nothing to write home about here. Then when we get into the latter half of the verse, you're going to do 2 more bars of G, 2 bars of C, and then bar 21, you see bottom left here, down here, where the A minor is. we're going to do 1 bar of A minor and 1 bar of C. That's caught me out quite a few times because I get so used to strumming one chord for 2 bars, but actually, occasionally, this song does throw you a little curveball like that. So we're going to go A minor to C, and then 2 bars of G. Notice here, where down here, bottom right, there's a repeat marker and then a bar after with a singular G. So let me explain how that works. We'll have to go back to here so that I can explain it. So I call this verse 1 even though you play the whole form 3 times. So you see the funny looking little brackets. Start of bar 9, top left, where the treble clef is, where that little musical note is, and it's G and you down, down, up, down. There's like a funny like open bracket that looks like that. That's called a repeat marker. You're going to play all 16 bars until you get to the bottom right where you see the sort of reciprocal marker just before the last bar. So that's called a repeat marker, and then above it says ×3. So what that means is I want you to repeat those 16 bars 3 times for me before we can move on to the chorus. But then above the last 2 bars you'll see there's a line with a 1 and a 2 underneath it, and then a line with a 3 underneath it. These are called alternate endings, and basically it's a really posh way of saying on the first 2 repeats you're going to finish by strumming that G chord before you hit the repeat marker and then go right back to the beginning. On the last time, that last bar of G, rather than strumming it, you're just going to go you can hide. So basically the very last bar of G before you move on to the chorus, what that's trying to tell you is you're just going to strike that G chord once and then you're going to mobilise and get ready for the chorus section. Okay? That being said, we've just played that G on the bottom right and we're going you can't hide your lying eyes. So we'd see these funny looking dashes in each bar. That's telling you to just keep going with the down, down, up, down strumming pattern. Rather than me writing loads of music notes and it being really hard for you to sight read, I'm trying to kind of streamline it. It's like the musical version of ditto marks. Think of it like that. So we're still doing the down, down, up, down, but we're in the chorus now, and that's G. Your lying eyes. It's that bit, yeah? I find that if you know how to play it, that C chord there, if you chuck in a cheeky G over C, it sounds really cool there, but that's extracurricular. If you know how to do that and it's not too much of a big deal to throw that in, mark it on the PDF with your pencil. If not, if you've got enough on your plate, just keep going with that C as normal. The second half of the chorus, this is split between the bottom of page 1 and the top of page 2, so I couldn't sort of chop it all out in one bit. We go to E minor, B minor, A minor, D. Thought by G, stay on G, C, A major, which is really interesting, A minor, D, and then it goes back to. We'll come back to that in a second. So can you see how the structure so far? We've done the intro where I had the Strat out. We then go into a verse which looks like this. You're going to play that figure 3 times. You then go into a chorus which is this part and this part shared. Yeah, I think that's a 14 bar phrase. And then you're going to come back into the intro. Now nothing is different. Nothing's changed. But looking at the PDF, we've played all of page 1 and pretty much the first half of page 2. So you've got sort of 2 main sections to this song. Now, there's nothing new in this. Just the same as the intro, but I feel like the crux of that, the difficulty, is coming, rather than you sort of mobilising and getting ready for it at the beginning of the song, you're strumming that D chord. You've got to really sort of quickly take one hat off, your rhythm guitar hat, and put your lead guitar hat on. And that's when I'm working as a as a pro guitar player going out doing these gigs, it's expected that I can literally just sort of pivot on a sixpence and be able to move to a completely different style of playing. And it's tricky, but the more that you do it, it will come. Just practice the changes slowly. Like that B minor, for example. If that B minor is tricky for you, just do some muscle memory exercises before you practice the song and just keep chipping away at it. It will come. So we've just played that and we're on page 2, and we're going to get to the bottom of page 2 of the PDF now, which looks like this. So we enter the second verse, and this is what I'll try and explain that again as I did earlier when I was talking about the first verse. This section, can you see, if you compare the first verse, where's the first verse? Yes, that's how similar they are. I changed the slide and you didn't even notice. So, right, I'm going to show you the very first verse. It looks like this. Right, can you see how that says times 3? We're now going to have a look at the second verse on page 2. Spot the difference. You'll see bottom right, it doesn't tell you how many times to repeat it. So when it comes to repeat markers, what I want you to do is, if it never tells you how many times to repeat, you always assume that you're going to repeat it twice. I know it'd be really easy for me to, because I make these sheets for these lessons, it'd be really easy for me to say, to just put a times 2 in there, but actually, if you read anybody else's charts, it'll really confuse you. So it's kind of a bit of being cruel to be kind, you'll have to forgive me. But we're going to essentially play between the repeat markers twice, and we omit that third repeat like we did last time, and that's the difference of between the album version and the remastered version. They just cut that extra repeat out to sort of claw a bit of time back. Okay, home stretch guys, we're on to the third page of the PDF. So moving on to the third page, we get to our final chorus. Now, I sort of think of the chorus and the ending as two different bits. This is the chorus, this is the ending, and then that's the proper ending with a nice little lovely lick at the end, okay? So, there's nothing new here compared to the previous chorus that we've done. You've G, C, G. Da, da, E, then to B, A minor, D. G, 2 bars of G that is, to C, A major, A minor, D. And you should, that's the ending lyric there is Lyin Eyes, yeah? Now, I want to caveat the final bit. Now, looking at this, I've written the chords above if you want to play the chords, but if I was playing this in a gig scenario, I know the listener is waiting for... But they only play the first part of the intro, they never play anything else. They don't play that bit. So what I'd do in a gig scenario is I'd just jump onto the chords, and this is why I've kind of mixed up both tabs and chord sheets. So I'd play the riff, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, and... And I'd repeat that 3 times, and that's the... it's basically a continuation of the chorus. Now, if that's too fiddly for you and you're struggling with the change, practice it as its own thing, as just part of your regular practice routine. But I'd also be tempted to try it with the chords, try it with and try it without, but I couldn't do lead for the whole thing because there's nothing here. Now, there is a little lick on the third time round, but I thought by the time that you get to this point, you'll just be grateful for the finish line, so I've chosen to omit it. I'm sure you'll be able to find it online if you really wanted to. But after you've come out of the chorus, as soon as you hit that D on the bottom right, you want to be getting ready. And you do this 3 times. And on the final time, you'll strum it as normal. And you hear the band play a big fat G, just like I did there. And then there's this little walk down the G major scale. So I've got fret 8, fret 7, fret 5, and fret 3. of C, B, A, G, of the, just walking down all the notes on the high E string. But if you go from, well, I've lost my slide, two bars of a bar of A minor and a bar of D into that, they're doing some sort of like hammer-ons and pull-offs, but I feel like that gives you the cliff notes, and that gives you it gives you a nice enough flavour of it, and it'll sort of make everybody's ears prick up, which is pretty cool. So don't forget, guys, go and get all of this. It takes me ages to make, and it's going to make your life so much easier, and you can scribble on these and take notes and highlight the repeat sections and write notes, write lyrics above the bits if you're struggling to get lost. The fourth page of the PDF, there's a more complex version of the intro for Lyin Eyes. If that's your thing and you want to have a go at something a little bit trickier, try and bolt that onto this. And then the last page of the PDF is all the chords that we're going to use. So this lesson was always going to be designed for what I call advanced beginners to intermediate players who can play some chords, play a little bit of lead, and are looking to be challenged but not looking to reinvent the wheel. If you're looking, and I hope you take this lesson the way that it was intended, I've cut a couple of corners to try and make it more accessible. There's so many people teaching it absolutely perfect online, but I kind of want to get some results out of the people in the Facebook group, and I feel like this is more important to them. How did you find this format? Does this work? I've got a couple of ideas for some more songs where I can mix this kind of little bit of lead, little bit of rhythm. Let me know what you want me to cover next. I'll see you next week for another guitar lesson. Thank you so much.